I love Rocket League. It is by far the most played game in my Steam library, clocking in at over 1,030 hours at the moment of making this video. That's more than double of the second place, which is still PUBG somehow, even though I haven't touched that game since August 2020. The only game that might give it an actual run for its money is probably Rome Total War, the original one, which is not on this list because don't judge me, it was a long time ago when I was still in college and very broke. So subsequently I don't have any actual numbers, but my guess is that it would be around 800, maybe 900 hours. But that still wouldn't trump my Rocket League hours, since I've also played a couple hundred hours on the PlayStation 4. But what is it exactly that makes Rocket League so enjoyable for me? Well, that's something that we're going to explore in this video. Welcome back my dear friends and foes, my name is Carloszard and I'm taking you with me on this journey to explore why my ADHD brain sticks with Rocket League as opposed to a lot of other video game titles. I mean, I am far from the best player, no ceiling shots or air dribbles from my part in a match, so it's not just a case of, oh, you're good at it, that's why. There is something inherently to Rocket League that just is elite and quite frankly ripples my nipples. And I believe that it's a combination of 5 factors. So let's just immediately start off with the first one, which is the barrier to entry. Nowadays, Rocket League is a free-to-play game on the Epic Game Store, so this point applies now even more than back then when I initially started playing this game. You see, on release, Rocket League costs around $20 or euros, which is a low price point in itself when it comes to video games, especially looking at the console market. And I myself used to play on PlayStation 4, and it was there where I came across it as one of those free-to-claim PSN Plus games on release. So I didn't actually pay anything for the game at first. And while $20 or euros or pounds or dirham or whatever is far from a steep price point, it can still be a hurdle for a game, especially for indie developers who don't have the marketing power or the pedigree bigger studios have to get people to actually spend that $20. But Psyonix and Sony made a genius and bold move to make this game free in the first month of its release, automatically giving it a ton of exposure. And the people who did take the free download and tried it out were probably just as surprised as I was back then, because it was not only a new game that we could claim as opposed to the usual 6-year-old garbage, it was actually really freaking good. And all of this amounted in so much positive advertisement and reviews that that $20 hurdle immediately got flattened out. People who missed out on the initial deal didn't mind paying the $20 afterwards for this game because the online community vouched for its quality. And even myself, later on, when my PlayStation decided to trade in this world in exchange for the Shadow Realm, I still didn't mind paying that $20 to be able to keep playing this game on my PC because it was just so entertaining. So it is safe to say that the barrier of entry, especially in its current day, is probably non-existent. The game is free to play and you don't need a sick GPU or CPU to run this game. In all fairness, your grandpa's fax machine can probably play Rocket League. The next point is non-committal, and I found it a bit difficult to accurately name this segment, so I'm just gonna go with that, non-committal. And what I exactly mean by that is Rocket League is a game you can drop in and out of within the span of 10 minutes. A regular game without overtime will last about 5 minutes, and finding a match, in competitive at least, will be a matter of seconds, where other games usually demand at least half an hour of your time to fully complete one match, and usually a lot more if you add the queuing times. But with Rocket League I can get home, have a spare 15 minutes to kill, and can safely start the game without having to worry that I will not have enough time to wrap it up, or without running the risk of running late. And this is a huge deal for me, seeing that a lot of the times I get put off by a game because I know it's a whole commitment to actually go through. This is a recurring thing for me for both strategy games and RPGs, two genres that I love to death, but I always worry if I have the time and the attention span to actually finish the game or the playthrough I just started. Yeah, ADHD is sometimes. But with Rocket League this is a non-issue for me, seeing that it's a game where you can easily play one game and be done with it for the day, or just play for hours on end getting on with that get good mentality. This game can do both, so it's completely up to the player to pick their poison. You want hardcore or you want casual. And for the casual players, don't worry, because the skill floor is very low and is probably one of the main reasons why it was such an initial hit. You see, Rocket League is a simple principle. It is rocket-powered cars playing football. It sounds stupid and hilarious, and it quite frankly is. Especially if you just started playing this game. The controls are just like any other racing game, just add a double jump mechanic and some rocket boost and you're good to go. And that makes it so that anybody that's even remotely familiar with video games in general can pick this game up and start playing and have fun with it within minutes. And while the principle is simple, it might feel a bit odd at first since you're not actually racing with these cars. But it's so wacky that you can still have a blast even though you're playing like a soggy diaper. The hardest part of the core mechanics to adjust to is probably the camera/ball cam. At least that was the case for me, to keep up with the camera movements and stay orientated simultaneously. I struggled with that in the beginning, but at the same time that also made for hilarious moments and mistakes and own goals, which turned 3v3 among friends into a giant and hilarious mess. And if you feel that the standard game mode is a bit too serious for your liking, well, nowadays there's quite the host of extra game modes that are a lot less serious in nature, like Drop Shot, Rumble, and sometimes limited time modes like Heat Seeker or Gridiron. Please make Gridiron a standard thing, Psyonix. Okay, thanks, bye. And even solo, there is fun to be had. If you don't feel like you're good enough to play online, there are single-player competitions or training modes where you can just practice and practice to get to that point. And besides that, there's also a whole goldmine of Steam Workshop mods that can spice things up for any type of player. But in all fairness, although there is fun to be had with Rocket League as a solo player, the game is very much built around the multiplayer aspect. So if you absolutely hate multiplayer, these things might not apply to you. Well, opposite to the skill floor, we have the skill ceiling. And while Rocket League is very easy to just pick up and start playing, it can be extremely hard to actually master. You want to rank up, you want to get better, well, you better be prepared to practice a lot and get butt blasted a lot before you can even think of getting somewhere near champion rank. And like I said, I clocked in over 1,000 hours and I'm still far from the best player. And that's in part due to me being a troglodyte, but also due to the game having an insanely high skill ceiling. But with the right reflexes, game IQ, a lot of practice and the necessary acrobatics, some people are able to get so cracked at this game that the Ultra Instinct theme just starts playing in your head when you see their gameplay. Flying across the pitch, dribbling the ball on their hood just to flick it in goal at the last second with some physics-defying flip. I mean, it's mind-boggling and beautiful to see both at the same time. And that's what makes Rocket League so great of an esport as well. It really looks hype, and it quite frankly is if you are able to pull something off like that. And this is just an assumption, but I for one think that it's probably easier for a layman to appreciate the craziness of a good Rocket League play than it is for them to appreciate a sick play in, for example, Overwatch or Dota. But aside from the esports aspect, the skill ceiling gives the hardcore players something to grind for. And it's not gear, it's not currencies or cosmetics, even though those are present in the game and are somewhat grindable, I guess. No, it's just the grind to get better and proceed through the rankings, like basically every other competitive esports game. But there is one big difference between Rocket League, Overwatch, CSGO, Valorant, Dota and League of Legends, and that is its originality. Rocket League is unique in the gaming sphere. It's in a league of its own since it has no direct competitors, and although most big esports games have distinct aspects to them in their own regard, Rocket League doesn't even have a competing game that's remotely close to it in terms of concept and gameplay. Almost every other thinkable variation of the concept has already been done by Psyonix themselves, whether that be American football, hockey, basketball, or other more abstract crazy stuff like Rumble. And the fact that Psyonix did such a great job at creating an entire new genre of games makes it very unappealing for competitors to enter this sphere, because it's a big risk. It's something that outside of Psyonix hasn't been done before, and your first attempt is probably gonna suck donkey dick. And that is why Rocket League has become such a staple in the gaming community for almost 8 years now. It has a thing that some would call a monopoly on rocket power car football, and although that sounds stupid, it turned out to be quite genius in retrospect. So yeah, Rocket League is and probably will remain my most played singular game for at least the coming years. And things are looking like it will retain a healthy player base for the foreseeable future. The move to the free-to-play model was one of the smartest things to do at that point in time, and seeing that it's being monetized in what I would call a healthy manner makes me think that this game can have a lifespan rivaling that of greats like World of Warcraft, Counter-Strike and League of Legends. So all in all, Rocket League is still the GOAT for me in video games, at this point in time at least. Thanks again for joining me into this little deep dive, and yeah, I hope to see you guys soon again. If you liked the video, maybe subscribe, maybe. Okay, thanks again for watching, guys. Bye.